I was listening to the Watchmen of Ephraim, A.K.A.Watchmen, WATCHMEN, on YouTube. I was listening to my brother Mark, who's been warning the people for 10 years, night and day with tears, as the Watchman of Ephraim, even though he lives in Canada. He's been warning Americans, especially Americans, but really the whole world, of judgment that begins at the house of God, that in so many ways has already happened, because the apostate Christian church has been given over to a reprobate mind. Constantine changed the Sabbath in 321 AD. At the same time, those wicked wolves had the people doing Saturnalia, which is Christmas today. And then you pair that with the hippie Christmas TV Jesus idol that is sitting in the temples proclaiming to be God of all the people who call themselves Christians. Well, most of them. There are some who will admit that Jesus is not God, that he's the Son of God, but even that is an error, because Jesus is a Roman counterfeit. Now you might say, what do you mean? I read my Bible. Isn't that the name it says in the Bible? It is. That's the name. But when you read the Bible, you should really recognize that the English name for Yeshua, translated from Hebrew, is Joshua. That's his name in English.
At the next light, turn left.
This character who comes with the name of Zeus right in his name is not in any way connected to the name of the Father. And the Messiah says in John chapter 5, verses 42 to read to 47, because you see in verse 42, Messiah says, I know you don't have the love of God in you. The love of God is to keep the Ten Commandments. So if you're not keeping the Ten Commandments, you don't have the love of God in you, and therefore you're given over to a strong delusion. Next verse, Messiah says, I come in my Father's name. His Father's name is Jehovah. In English, it's Jehovah.
At the light, turn left onto Northeast Jacksonville Road.
Jehovah's Witnesses. They may have gotten the Father's name right, but somehow they call on the Son's name as Jesus. And in addition to that, they don't keep the Ten Commandments, because they don't keep the seventh-day Sabbath holy from dawn to dawn. So all of those 45,000 iterations
in 3/4 of a mile, turn right.
Versions are apostate. Now the people we have great compassion for, because they've been deceived, and they are like sheep having no shepherd. They don't even know the prophecy of the Messiah. Deuteronomy 18, 15 through 19. Moses said he would come and teach the Ten Commandments. So continuing in John chapter 4, if we continue to read, Messiah says, if you had believed Moses, you would have believed me, because he wrote about me. But you know, you New Testament Christians don't even read the Old Testament. And when they do, they read it with confirmation bias, confirming all the lies.
Go past this light, then at the next one, turn right.
Of the apostate church. So I'm watching my brother Mark and my brother Andrew on a live space today, just preaching truth with the Spirit of God, with conviction and grace, with no guile in their
At the light, turn right.
And they bring up Malachi. Mark brings up Malachi chapter 4, the last verse there. I think it's verse 6. That he's going to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to the fathers. And that's definitely referring to a couple of things, but
in 1 mile, turn left onto North Pine Avenue.
To keep the Ten Commandments, because that's the 5th commandment, which is the first commandment with promise. Paul writes about this in Ephesians chapter 6. The 5th is the first with promise. Why is it a promise? Because when you teach the Ten Commandments to your children, and do so to 1,000 generations, he extends mercy to you. You got to be in covenant. But that last verse in the verse of Malachi is really interesting when you read it in the Septuagint. And we know that the apostles were reading the Septuagint. Certainly those that would have been in the synagogues at that time. Certainly Paul would have had access to the Septuagint. And you see the translation there in Malachi. Now don't be fooled, because they weren't.
Go past this light, then at the next one, turn left.
The scribes is still in the Septuagint. But those scribes, they don't have the Holy Spirit, so they don't even really know what to remove and what not to remove. So what you just see is lots of different words used at different times that sometimes mean the same thing. But in that Malachi chapter 4, verse 6, it says he's going to turn the hearts of the children to the fathers and the hearts of the fathers to the children. And we know that Jacob was the father of many fathers, and he was the father of his sons, the 12 patriarchs. Those are the fathers also. And it goes on to say he's going to turn the hearts of the children to the fathers and the hearts of the fathers to the children, lest he smite the earth with a curse. That's your great tribulation. In the Septuagint, he says he's going to smite it with a grievous wound. Again, that's your tribulation. A grievous wound is not keeping the Ten Commandments. It's a grievous wound. And you need these repairers of the breach who are going to teach you these things. So coming in the spirit of Elijah is my brother Mark, who's not only teaching the Ten Commandments, but the magnified law. Refreshed and
At the light, use the left 2 lanes to turn left.
So Messiah magnified the law so that we are to love our neighbor as we are to love ourselves, which means to teach them the Ten Commandments. And in that last verse in Malachi, it says, in addition to turning the hearts of the fathers to the children and the hearts of the children to the fathers, he's going to turn a man's heart toward his neighbor. And there it is. The royal law. That's your gospel, people. On this hang all the law and the prophets. Matthew chapter 22, verses 36 to 40. Messiah is quoting from Deuteronomy 6, 1 through 5, and Leviticus 19, 15 through 18. That we are to not suffer sin upon our neighbors by warning them of the consequences of sin and rebuking them when they are in error. That's the love of God and the love of your neighbor. And this is what straightasthegate.net has been preaching for years now, thanks to the obedience and faithfulness of our brother Mark, who has had the courage to stand in the gap